Hello and welcome to this hip opening yoga class that I did outside in my garden just today. It was a beautiful sunny day and I think it's a beautiful moment for us to all take a second and appreciate the tiny little things in life that are going to get us through these next few weeks or months. This time of uncertainty, we need to really notice the beauty in our world. So we're going to start in child's pose. Feet come together, knees wide apart, hips and chest sink down into the mat. Arms are stretched out in front of you. You can relax your head down, perhaps your chin or your forehead coming down to the mat. So, as with most yoga practices, there are lots of different benefits to opening your hips. Things that you might not expect. Obviously, you've got it's fantastic at supporting the lower back, as tight hips can cause strain on the lower back by asking too much effort from the spine. So when the hips are open, there is more range of movement, better circulation, more support for the muscles of the back and the spine. Opening hips also helps with alignment. So it can help with the joints of the lower back, the hips and the legs to come into better alignment. Apart from these reasons, first of all, it is fantastic at releasing stress because we hold stress within our muscles. So one muscle in particular, which is the psoas muscle, which attaches the lumbar spine to the femur bone, it is triggered when we feel stress, particularly, these are very stressful, unknown times. So even though we don't really have much of a need to literally fight or flight at the moment, when the body experiences stress in any form, the signal still travels to this muscle. So you can kind of see how this muscle can carry a great deal of tension and the benefits of practicing hip openers. One more fascinating thing about hip opening practice is that it can stimulate creativity, because energetically the hips are associated with the sacral chakra or the creative center. So the hips are kind of what hold and support the reproductive organs and the organs of creation. So when we focus on this area, we help to unlock this creative center, any stagnant energy that might be sort of stuck there. By stimulating it, we can help it flow more naturally and support it, send it some love. So, having said all of that, and hopefully convincing you that it's very important and beneficial to open our hips, let's go ahead and do that. So from your child's pose, hopefully you've gotten nice and deep into this now, really sinking into the hips, feeling whatever earth you have underneath you. You can start to slowly walk your hands up towards your sit bones and come up into a seated position. We're coming into a sort of mix of cow face and half lord, taking your right leg around so that your right foot is next to your left sit bones, and placing your left foot over the right knee, and with your arms rising them up to the air and either encouraging your right arm down the back, so your right bicep is along by your ear, either encouraging this arm down your back with your left hand just on the elbow. Otherwise, if you've got the space to do so, catching a hold of the right hand with your left behind you, anchoring down through the sit bones so that both sides of your bum are on the ground. You're not lifting in one side or the other. Hips are even. Your left foot is grounded. Right foot is at a right angle so that you're not putting any pressure on the knee. Breathing here, opening through the chest. Allowing yourself to really get into this posture. And coming onto the other side now, so unraveling the arms, unraveling the legs, maybe shaking them out a little bit in front of you, and coming onto the other side. So your right leg goes over the left leg comes round to meet the other side of the bum cheek, and your arms help each other in whichever way they can. So either right arm comes to help the left hand back further down the back, otherwise grasping hold of your hand behind your back. Again, you can use your head to kind of open this stretch even further, anchoring down through the sit bones, feeling a stretch through the thighs and the hips, making sure your spine is long. Sending love to those psoas muscles that hold so much stress and tension. We're coming into head to knee pose now, so unraveling the legs once again, stretching them out in front of you and bringing your left knee into your right thigh, letting it splay out to the side, lying down on the mat. Right ankle is flexed, right foot is flexed, extending through the spine, lifting the arms up, and kind of almost imagining coming up and over and then up and over again. So you're kind of extending through the back as you come over rather than just falling down and arching the back. So imagine an inhale and an exhale to bring you slightly closer to your foot. Inhale to extend through the spine. Exhale brings you closer to the foot. Inhale to extend through the spine, and exhale to finally maybe grab a hold of the foot. Otherwise your arms might just be lying down by the side of your leg. If your head is nowhere near to your leg, that's completely fine. Bending the leg if you need to do so. And noticing how you might get deeper into this stretch as time goes on, as you breathe, as you relax into this posture. This flow is all about kind of observing how your body changes if you give it time. So we're holding the stretches for a bit longer than we might usually. We're breathing into them and we're allowing the hips to open in their own time. Inhaling lifts us back up. And we're going to swap over to the other side. So bringing right foot into left thigh. Left foot is flexed. Inhale brings us up. Exhale. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to round. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to maybe come towards the foot. So many people experience sort of damage within their bodies by pushing themselves too fast, too quickly. And that's a really terrible thing to do. I think we need to all allow our bodies a bit more time to get into postures such as this. And it will come over time. It just takes patience. Coming into cobbler pose now, so bringing both feet in towards the center of your body, soles kiss together, and we kind of we let the knees splay out and do butterfly pulses, I suppose. Up and down, and possibly taking a few neck circles at this point as well to warm up the neck. Why not, as we're here? And coming into a wide leg forward fold. I always find these a little bit uncomfortable, so I don't have such a wide stance. So just coming into as wide a fold as is comfortable for you. Extending through the spine is always really important. And if the ground is too far away from you, then using a block if you have one, otherwise maybe a firm cushion or a rolled up towel. And remembering that these are not props to tell you that you're doing things wrong or that you're not good enough. These props are here to help you if you're, for example, your arms are too short so you can't actually reach the ground. It's simply bringing the ground closer to you. You should never feel kind of a step behind but from using props, particularly when no one else can see what you're doing. Inhale to come back up, and we're coming into our tabletop position now, so wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath the hips, getting comfortable here and coming into our first downward dog in your own time. Hips come up and back, walking through the legs, lengthening the hamstrings, bending the knees as much as is needed, feeling length through the arms. Anchoring down through the left foot, we're coming into a three-legged dog, so picking up our right foot, straightening it out behind us, bending the right knee, coming to take some hip circles, opening the hips even further, circling one way and then the other if this is comfortable for you. With that bent knee, coming over to almost touch your foot to your bum. Trying to keep weight evenly distributed through both hands. Extending back through to your three-legged dog. And on the inhale, stepping your right foot in between your hands at the top of the mat. Feet are hip-width distance apart. Spine is long. Breath is regular. Pivoting the left foot so that it's parallel with the short edge of your mat and coming up to your warrior two. Arms are stretched out either side of you. There's a right angle in your front knee and you can still see your toes over that knee. There's a tendency here to come slightly forwards or slightly back, so imagining a kind of pole coming down through the centre of your body. Gaze is over your front hand. Feel the further opening in your hips here. So although you're not necessarily putting any pressure on your hip to open, this is absolutely a hip opening standing posture. Cartwheeling your arms down, pivoting on the back foot once again, coming into a twist in a lunge. Opening up the arms so that they're kind of in 6 o'clock position. Gazes up towards the top hand, if that's all right for your neck. Otherwise, it's lowered down to the ground. Feeling a stretch through your back leg, strength through both legs. Core is engaged. Channeling any energy through that back ankle. And stepping back into your downward facing dog. Coming onto the other side now, so channeling weight down into your right foot and extending your left foot up and back into your three-legged dog. Bending that left knee, circling the hips one way and then the other. Extending the leg, bending it again and maybe coming to touch the bum with the left foot. Weight is evenly distributed through the hands. Extending the leg up. And on your inhale, stepping it in between your hands at the top of the mat. You can help your foot there if it's difficult for you to do. Opening up the body now into your warrior two on the other side. Again, arms are out long, gazes over the front hand. Legs are really strong in this position. Stabilizing yourself with both your front and your back foot. Making sure that every part of your foot is grounded in this standing posture. Finally, cartwheeling the hands so that the right hand comes to the mat next to the left foot, pivoting your right foot onto your tiptoes and opening up to the left-hand side of your mat for your twist. Hands are at opposite directions, opening up towards the sky. Gaze up towards the top hand if that's all right for your neck, otherwise coming down to look at your foot. Give your toes a little wiggle. Feeling energy through both feet. Exhale brings us back into your three-legged dog and placing the left foot down to meet the right. I invite you to join me through a vinyasa flow now, otherwise coming into a child's pose where we will all eventually meet. Exhaling to plank. Inhaling to lower the knees and exhale, chaturanga modified version. Inhale, roll shoulders back, cobra. Exhale, pushing up and through to your downward dog. And everyone can meet in child's pose. Tucking the toes under now, coming back into your downward dog. We're coming into pigeon, so if you step your right foot up and back into your three-legged dog, stretching out, finding length, and making a kind of S shape with your knee. So you come from the right-hand side, slithering all the way to the left, and finally coming to meet your right knee with your right wrist, and your right foot with your left wrist. Walking your left foot out behind you to create length, finding stability where you are right now. Breathing, inhaling to find length through your spine. Staying here if this is comfortable for you. Otherwise, exhaling, we slowly lower down towards our forearms and possibly lowering our forehead down to the mat, coming to rest on our hands or directly onto the ground. If pigeon posture is uncomfortable for you, then you can come onto your back and do a supine figure 4 or a supine pigeon. It's the exact same stretch but on your back, which I have demonstrated in another video. Pigeon is particularly amazing at opening up your hips, really getting in touch with the psoas muscles. So taking some really deep, nourishing breaths here, sinking deeper into the ground, allowing yourself to just be. Inhale brings us slowly up, untucking the legs, really gingerly and forgivingly coming back into our downward dog, walking the legs out, feeling the difference between each side now that one side has had that stretch. And coming onto the other side, anchoring down through the right foot, picking up the left into three-legged dog and taking that S movement again. So coming from the left-hand side of the mat, slithering through to the right and coming all the way to meet left knee with left wrist and left foot with right wrist. Sinking the hips down, walking the right foot back away from you. Finding length through the arms and the spine. And slowly and with care, if you have the room to do so, coming down to the mat. Placing your forehead onto your arms. Breathing deeply through your nose. Inhale brings us up very carefully and with awareness of our hips, stepping back into our downward dog. Coming through a flow if you would like to do so. So inhaling through to plank, exhale, elbows hug into the body, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward dog. Bending the knees generously, gazes up past the hands at the top of the mat, and we step or hop to the top. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. With a bend in the knees, we rise arms up, coming up to our Tadasana with hands at the heart center. Stepping out into the center of your mat with legs wide apart, we're coming into a wide-legged forward fold. Now with feet parallel to either end of the mat, extending through the spine, inhaling, and we exhale with the hands on the hips, forward fold deep towards the earth. Bring your block to help you if you can't reach the earth. Possibly walking your hands through your legs to feel more of a stretch. Widening or shortening your stance as you feel is needed. With hands on hips and strong legs, we come back up to standing. And take one more forward fold, but this time with hands clasped behind to open the chest up. Stretch through the arms. Inhale, exhale, forward fold, deep down towards the ground. Hands hang heavy over the head, opening up the shoulders and certainly opening up the hips. Inhale finally brings us up to standing. Walking the feet in, toe heeling the feet so that you can come comfortably into garland pose or malasana or yogi squat. So ankles are slightly wider than the hips and we sink down into our yogi squat. If this is uncomfortable for you, then just ease off on this. If your ankles don't meet the ground, that's completely fine. You can use the elbows to open up your hips even more. You can come into some heart openers here by placing your right hand onto the ground, opening up through the chest towards the sky. And coming to the other side, so placing your left hand down by your left foot and opening up to the right hand side of the room. Gaze is up towards the right hand. Now carefully coming back to sit on the ground. Maybe swaying the legs back and forth, side to side. Coming to lie down on your back now, we're coming into some half happy babies, straightening the left leg away from you, feeling a stretch through the left thigh and bringing your right knee up to your chest, kind of anchoring it over towards your shoulder so that you've got a bit of an angle going on, and grabbing hold of the outside of your right foot, anchoring it down, ankle is over knee, and you're really opening up through the back of that thigh. Shoulders remain grounded, sit bones are on the mat. Coming on to the other side now, so bringing left knee into the chest, bringing them both in, giving yourself a little cuddle, and extending the right leg long, flexing through the right foot, really energizing through that right leg. Anchoring the left knee up towards your shoulder and opening up, bringing your hand to the outside of your left foot. Anchoring down, ankle is over the left knee. You've got a bit of a right angle going on with your left leg now. Again, shoulders remain grounded. Option here to take a full happy baby now at the end of our practice. Grabbing a hold of the outside of both feet, right angles with both legs, sit bones are grounded, shoulders are grounded. You can play around with this posture by straightening one leg, straightening the other, alternating this bend. And when you feel like you've had enough, coming to straighten the legs out, coming into our final twist of the practice, supine twist. So bringing right leg in towards you and crossing it over your left leg, coming to lie on the left hand side of the mat. Right arm is spread out away from you, gaze follows, and the left hand can kind of help ground the right knee down towards the ground. Coming onto the other side, rising the legs up. Left leg now wraps over the right and comes to sink onto the right hand side of the mat. Left arm is spread out wide and long. Gaze is over the left hand. You can use your right hand again as a bit of a weight on your right knee. Feeling that beautiful twist through your body. Coming back up to center, stretching the legs out long, arms are heavy by your side, and coming into your final resting pose, Shavasana. Staying here for about 5 minutes, really allowing your body to soak up all of the movements that you've just done. As I said at the beginning of this practice, the hips hold quite a lot of emotion, so don't be surprised if you feeling a little bit kind of emotional later on. Just sit with those emotions and register them and observe them. They need to be felt. Staying here for as long as you need, feeling safe, feeling relaxed, feeling one with your body and your mind, returning to your natural breath. Perhaps resting your tongue on the roof of your mouth so that your jaw can relax and release. And being still.